was the Parker replacement Dubois for Bakole. I don't know how much the press was all over that on your side of the pond, but here in Saudi and the English, I mean, it was like an earthquake when Dubois was clearly out of the fight. And on the heels of having lost Kid Austin on the card as well, it seemed like this card was coming apart at the seams. The last thing anybody thought was that Bakole was going to step in. We thought, probably Coley would be the one. That I think would have been probably now in hindsight a more interesting challenge on the night. But when we got the word that the monster was coming from Congo and the guy who supposedly everyone is avoiding is stepping in last minute, a lot of pundits were saying that we were going to see a better fight than we were promised with Dubois. A lot of people thought that all of a sudden Parker had overstepped too far into the deep end and had taken a challenge last minute that was ill-advised. And so when Bakole hit that arena, it was electric, man. Like, to me, at that time, it felt like a main event fight. I don't know what it felt like to you, all this like shenanigans throughout the week and ups and
Bill
downs.
Simmons, I don't know if you know Bill Simmons, very
sure.
Okay, right. Bill's big guy in sports here in America. He tweeted out, "Oh my God, Bakole's the replacement. That's my favorite fighter." I was like, "Wow, Bill Simmons knows who Martin Bakole is." So no, it made some waves here stateside. I was excited, and I even picked Bakole. I was like, "Oh, Bakole's gonna fight Parker. I got Bakole." Getting ahead of myself, not even waiting to see what kind of shape he was arriving in, and and just to push back a little bit on the event, that I when Dubois pulling out and Schofield pulling out, I feel like there was a lack of transparency there. I feel like when Janibek couldn't make his Mikhailovich fight here in Vegas, hey, they released it. Like, he was dehydrated, he was struggling to make weight, fight had to get called off. Errol Spence detached retina against Pacquiao. Like, we didn't get any releases, any press releases about what happened here. Like, what happened to
Dubois? That's down to the fight team.
They're illin', like you told Eddie Hearn. They're illin', but we didn't know.
Oh, by the way, thanks for bringing it up. This is let's take a little side mission.
Yeah.
I want everybody to Google the word illin'. Now, mind you, when I use that word in that sentence, I was referring to Daniel Dubois having just taken ill within the last 3 hours, and the fact that something was troubling his system. So I want you to Google it and see, not only is illing a word, which some people don't even know that's an actual word, but it was the most appropriate word for exactly what I was describing. And it was the Queen's English. It originates from 1209, and Eddie Hearn didn't even know the Queen's English as well as Radio Raheem. Back to our regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, you gotta see, and I just thought of the Run DMC song.
Of course. I mean, of course. Yeah, but with that said, I was, go on.
That, and, there was a little bit of controversy around the Hamza Shiraz, talking about you're 2 points down and all that. And, but hey, some shenanigans, but shenanigans do happen here stateside too, so I get it.
Transparency's down to the team, though. I mean, I agree. I'm covering the fight in real time. I want to know what's going on. I want to be able to report on it. I want to have an opinion on it. I want to ask people about it. And everybody was super tight. I don't know. Maybe the Kid Austin camp was a little bit too loose with information. They were saying too many things, and none of it seemed to be true. Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it is. But what we don't know is what the truth is. And that's your point. But that's because there was so much confusion around that one. And then there was so much silence around Dubois. However, I did interview Frank Warren the day after the announcement that Dubois had fallen ill, or should I say illin.
He was illin.
He said that it was a viral infection, that he got a viral infection the day before. They brought a doctor in. He was medicated. They waited to see the next morning how he would wake up. He was worse, and that's when the fight was called off. I mean, you
got that Usyk rematch viral infection. Oh, Usyk said he's going to give me the rematch.
Whether you believe it or not is different than transparency, right? This is what the story was reported. I have no reason to think it's anything but what they say. And maybe, if we're proper investigative journalists, it's up to us to find the truth if that's not it. But that's what they told us.
Yeah. No, it's fair enough. And but as for the fight itself, I've seen a lot of people going at Turkey like, hey, you took advantage of Bakole and all that. And I'd jump on that if I felt that way. But I'm disappointed in Bakole. You know, you gotta what's an old phrase in boxing? Stay ready. You don't have to get ready. You never know when that
And
phone
protect
call is
yourself
gonna
at all
come.
times. Yes.
You never know when that phone call is gonna come.
That's right.
These are old adages in boxing since before me and you got in the game. And
Right.
it's like, I get it. You're a heavyweight. You don't have to make weight. Oleksandr Usyk's not going up to 300 pounds. So there's a reason why he's the heavyweight champion. And I was drinking the Bakole Kool-Aid. It was like he's born in Zaire, where Foreman was knocked out for the heavyweight title. Like, he's compared to Foreman. Being from Zaire, I wanted to see an African maybe win the heavyweight title to inspire and uplift a whole continent to you know, for the sport, for the future of boxing, get them in the mix. But he should have taken a win over Anderson as getting hungrier, not hungrier, you know, to eat food, but hungrier to be great. Like, oh, I did it. I could really do this now. You know, I'm just saying. And you know, like, if you didn't, apparently you weren't cut out to become heavyweight champion, because and no, Tyson Fury is somewhere saying, I got drunk and obese a couple of times and still became heavyweight champ. Okay, fair enough. But for the most part, the rule of thumb would be you can, and that caught up with Tyson. Maybe Tyson Fury beats Usyk in their 2 fights if he's not fucking around throughout his heavyweight run. You know, maybe that stuff paid negative dividends for him. And Usyk was the opposite. So,
Yeah,
and what's disappointing.
Oh, sorry.
No, what's disappointing is Bakole was getting good work done before he got knocked out. And this is him out of shape and everything, and he's still landing uppercuts on the inside. His timing and punch selection is still crazy. But he gets hit with the big shot and, you know, equilibrium totally off. I would have loved to have seen him with a real camp in this fight. But that's on him, man. You can't blow up that bad. You can't go over 300 pounds.
So you blame Martin Bakole. Ultimately, every fighter is responsible for himself. And I like to say also, one of these old adages is that you protect yourself at all times. That doesn't only mean when you're in the ring in a firefight. That means in your career. That means like staying in shape. That means not putting yourself in harm's way in your personal life. That means protect yourself at all times. With that said, I just interviewed Martin Bakole. I came from that interview to jump on with you, Sean. And one of the many reasons I love you is because one of the first things I raised to him, and I said it this way, was after he had to turn down a fight with Zhang last year because His Excellency asked him late to step in and fight Zhang, and he couldn't do it because he wasn't ready. He wasn't in shape. He hadn't been training. He was like, I had to tell His Excellency no. And then I said, well, if you had to turn down a good payday before and they asked you to step in last minute already, you couldn't do it. He quoted himself as saying that the reason that he took this fight, one of the reasons, is that he didn't want to disappoint His Excellency again, as he had asked him a couple of times to do fights that he couldn't do, and he wanted to say yes to this one. That was part of his consideration. I know you'll have a thought about that, but he said no to the fight originally. And you can watch this interview that's out now. He said no to the fight originally, and his trainer said, think about this. His Excellency asked you 2 things. Maybe you should grant him the third. You know, this is a lot of money that you're going to get out of nowhere. You will still have the May 2nd date. That date is still on. He's still getting that fight for sure. And you can beat Parker. You can get in there. You know him. You sparred him. You're ready. You can do it. Think about it. Maybe you should do it. And then Bakole did exactly that, thought about it, heard what his trainer said, and then he took the fight when his first mind told him not to. And now here is the part that doesn't set well with me. He should have followed his first mind, by my estimation. Now, granted, he's making money for his family. He wants to stay in good, league with the biggest promoter of boxing right now. I get all of that. But when your trainer is the one who is nudging you that way, his first considerations was none of those things. It was protecting himself and protecting his opportunity on May 2nd and protecting his status. Sean right now would still be thinking of himself, thinking of Bakole as the monster. We're thinking of all those thoughts that you had 3 days ago. you'd be still having had you not seen what you saw last night. And then when Bakole got to his feet after having been knocked down on the top of the head from the punch he hadn't seen, we're well into the round. Maybe he could have survived it, got back to the stool, regrouped. We don't know. He's a big puncher. He was hurting. He was hurting Parker by Parker's own admission. Like you said, it was working for Bakole. And Bakole said himself it was working. And then as soon as he goes down, he's getting to his feet. His trainer throws in the towel. To me, that says that his trainer never really believed
he would win the fight
in Bakole, that he never really believed he was going to win this fight, that he went there for the money grab, and Bakole went there to fight. His trainer went there to collect a check, and his trainer stopped that fight because at no point, even in the lead into this ring, that did he believe that this was actually the right choice. Because if he had believed it, if he thought Bakole really had what it took to beat Parker, and he saw his fighter get to his feet and knew that if he could survive, he could get him back to the corner and reconstitute him for the next round, he doesn't throw that talent, and he threw that talent immediately. He came there, the trainer, to get the money. And I think that he ill-advised his fighter, and Bakole does not regret taking the fight. I asked him that too. He says, no, I don't regret it, but I regret it. And I think that that's something that you got to look at, man. You got to really think about, is this the kind of relationship I want? And I'm not impugning the guy 100%. Like, people make mistakes, people misjudge things. Bakole, to be fair, did say he told his trainer ahead of time, if it looks like, I'm in real trouble, throw the towel in. I don't know if that was actually said before, but I'll take him at his word. Sounds like an odd conversation to have with your trainer. But I think it was an ill-advised fight to take, and somebody should have stopped him. And his trainer, I think, was the first line of defense for Bakole to protect himself.
I'll just close by saying it sounds like Usyk's going to go ahead with the Dubois rematch. I think you want to see the rematch, and a lot of people, they go for the low blow narrative. Like that sells the rematch for them, and along with Dubois continuing to improve and win in good performances. But it's stale to me. I already saw it. It was one-sided for the most part. Low blow. All right. That doesn't do it for me. That doesn't sell me on wanting to see these two in the ring again. I've been wanting to see Parker since Usyk, before Usyk became champion. I've been wanting to see Parker fight Usyk because a lot of these big guys at heavyweight, 6'6", 6'7", 6'8", 9, like Fury and Joshua, these big boys, man, they can't put up with the constant feinting and jousting of Usyk. It mentally and physically, biting on it all night exhausts them. They're too big. He makes their size work against them in a lot of ways. And Parker is more of a mid-sized heavyweight. He was a little too heavy in this fight. He'd have to get back to his 245, 250 range. But he's a real heavyweight, so he's still going to maintain something of a size advantage over Usyk. But he's 6'4", and when he's in shape, 245, he's not one of these lumbering big heavyweights. He can, and I know Fury wasn't lumbering, but Fury had seen some better days, in my opinion, by the time they fought. Parker is still an underdog against Usyk. Usyk's Usyk. He's the favorite over the field, but Parker can challenge him in some areas like feints and foot speed and hand speed and smarts and fluidity while still being a naturally bigger man. So I think that is a more interesting fight. I want to see Usyk and Parker, but it sounds like we're going to get Usyk and Dubois anyways. So
I wouldn't mind seeing Parker fight the winner of Usyk Dubois. I definitely want to see Usyk Dubois. I think Dubois is a changed man. I think now he's going to have to face all those criticisms of being a quitter, being a duck, people not believing the story, people thinking that maybe he just laid out because he knew he could get the undisputed fight. And to be fair, if I'm advising a fighter, and if I'm not ever telling a guy just fake it, but I am saying if there's a way to get straight to undisputed without taking this fight in as the interim, especially a very tough, a very dangerous Joesph Parker, and I can get a shot at undisputed, especially if I think I got robbed from this body shot that might have won the fight for me the first time, and I could get my fighter right in there when he's full of confidence and the best preparation. He's already in fighting shape, so now he has even longer. He's a very young man. He can just stay in shape. Then as it gets close to the Usyk date, obviously go into a proper camp, but he will be right and ready for Usyk in a way that he doesn't have to heal from the Joesph Parker fight. And that is a damn good prospect. I can't say that I wouldn't advise a fighter to do that. And I am certainly not saying that that's what happened, but it's a damn good turn, and I can't blame him for it. I do want to see that rematch. And then Joesph Parker 100% deserves to fight the winner of that fight. In the meantime, I would like to see Parker Cabial.
Cabial did his thing, man. Exquisite body puncher and combination puncher. You know, when he gets into his real estate, I didn't know he could move like that, like he was doing in the early rounds. He fought as good as anybody.
Body shots.
Yeah, the body
shots.
Yeah.
Breaking the big man down like that, boy. That was textbook. That was good fighting. That was good fight. And being willing to stand in front of him and trade when necessary. I was impressed. I would love to see Parker take on Cabial and then get the shot at whoever prevails in Usyk Dubois too.